Welcome back to our series on how to EQ like a pro. This week we're going to be getting into how to EQ your bass. Everyone loves bass, so I know you're going to love this video. Check it out. Hey everyone, welcome to the series on how to EQ like a pro. In this video we're going to be talking about how to EQ and mix your bass. Last week we discussed the drum bus, and I previously talked about snares, claps, and kick drums. So make sure you go check those videos out. Today we're going to get into the bass. So the first thing I want to preface by saying the sound quality that you pick or record is very important. If you are using a real bass, whether it be acoustic or maybe you're recording a bass amp, or you have a stand-up bass and you're using microphones, who knows? The tone, the quality of what you do is very important. Same if you're using hardware synths or soft synths, the tone and the selection and the shape of the sounds is going to play a big factor and definitely prevent you from having to do a lot of work later if you get that right from the start. So that's the first tip, is just choosing good sounds and getting things right. The second tip I'm going to give you is not even related to EQ, but has again to do with sound selection. I picked this track. I made this a month ago. I don't know what's going to happen to it yet. My friend is currently writing some vocals to it. But the reason I chose this for the purpose of this video is, if you notice, there's a bass here that's going along with the main parts with the drums. And you'll notice down here, there's this break bass. So during the breakdowns, I actually have a different bass. That can give you a different tone and can be fitting for the need of the music. So that is a great tip to do. You don't always need to use the same bass across the whole track. In fact, having multiple basses can be very helpful. Maybe they can be layered on top of each other, maybe they aren't. Let's take a listen to this track. Here's the first bass. Solid house groove. And then here in the breakdown, there it is. You have a different bass. So what does that do? It gives the listener something new to listen to. I don't need that same sound in the breakdown. I just needed something a little subbier, something to fill in that low end and give it that bottom, but I didn't want it to be the main thing. So I just picked a different bass for that section. The next thing you can do is you could layer basses if you want extra tone. So I had a top in this track that I didn't even end up using. I went ahead for the purpose of this video, picked a different top that is a little more suitable. I didn't shape it yet though, but let's play these two together. I'm gonna go ahead and play this part right here. Without this top, let me mute this EQ. With the top, it gives it a little more top end, a little more warmth. It's not bad, I got to admit. Let's go ahead and shape the filter a little bit. And I want to shape this. Before. Now, just like in all the previous videos, if you're going to layer, you got to think about carving some space because you might have some frequency buildup. And getting your bass right is important. So let's check out this EQ. Nothing's being done with this thing. Great tip of what you could do with bass is, if you have the same EQ on, you can actually, and I did this in my Fabfilter video, I suggest you go check that out. You can layer the two together so you can see what's going on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put that EQ there. And then on this one, I'm going to pick the other bass. And now I can see the first bass on top of this new top that I added. And I've superimposed the two together. So maybe this way I can easily carve some space. Maybe I don't want so much low end, since the other one is giving all the low end, and I want a little more top end in this one. That's a little better. And then you could, transversely do the same thing here. Maybe you want less and a little more boost in the low. So carving space is very key if you are talking about layering your bass lines. Another thing that's huge when you are talking about bass lines is carving space for the kick to stick out, especially in dance music. So what you could do is you could use sidechain compression. And I'm not using sidechain compression in this track. I'm actually just using this kickstart, which is more of a volume tool, but essentially doing the same thing. If you're unfamiliar with sidechain, I did a video on 5 sidechain tricks that you could do to help your kick and your bass. Leave you a link to that so you could check that out. But just to give you an example, what this is doing is it's ducking the volume of the bass when the kick hits, because you can either trigger it from the kick drum or you could just let it work with the volume itself. And that's what's going on here. It's set to a quarter note, and I talked about this in the kick drum video as well. Here's 100%, 0%. If you wanted to bring in the kick drum, you could do that, or bring in the sidechain. And now you're seeing that there. You're seeing it superimposed. So this can help you get the shape right if you'd like on this specific plugin. Once again, check out the video on different sidechain techniques. It's really helpful. Following along, another tip that I've got for you is to use a plugin called Trackspacer. This is similar to sidechain, but works a little bit differently. Sometimes I'll use a little sidechain and a little Trackspacer, just like you see here. Let's mute both of them. And you can see that the kick drum and the bass are muddied up a little bit. Let's just use Trackspacer. And you could filter this down. There you go, that's a little much. And then with the kickstart, once again, oh, what the hell? Don't tell me you crashed. So once again, with both of these on, you can hear the kick just poking out, making room with that bass, which volume is essentially what EQ is doing. So volume plays a very big part in carving space and making room for things in your mix. So if you're curious to know more about Trackspacer and how it works, check out that video once again on 5 ways to sidechain your kick and your bass. Another good plugin to use on bass is MaxxBass, and I just did a video on this a few weeks ago, so go check that out. I'll leave you a link. Very, very, very crucial plugin, especially in today's world where everybody is listening to music on laptop speakers or earbuds or small speakers, basically. What this can do is bring out some upper harmonics in the bass. I'm just gonna go ahead and play this bass with it muted. It doesn't seem like it's got as much power anymore. That's because with MaxxBass, I've enhanced that. And if I turn this back down, yeah. And so MaxxBass is a great way to enhance frequencies and bring out things in your bass that aren't necessarily apparent. They're extra harmonics. It's almost like saturation, a little bit different in this regard because it has some dynamic controls in it. You can kind of think of it almost like saturation though, because it is bringing out extra harmonics, upper harmonics, and it really can help. So that is another tip for bass. And so if you look at my bass line here, I'm not using a ton of plugins. I went ahead and monoed the bass out, which is a great thing to do because it'll put the bass in the center of your mix. I used MaxBass. I used a Pultec, which is an EQ. I recently did a video on this. Love this EQ. Boosted some of the really low end at 30 Hertz. I put a little saturation with this black box plugin. I love this saturation tool as well. And then I got rid of the EQ I just added because I just realized I already had one of these. And I'm using a little dynamic EQ here just to give that bass a little more presence. And I cut a little at 50, which is interesting because I boosted a little on the Pultec at 30. So I must have just thought that the 50 was too high. And then I'm just basically using the sidechain tricks. And let me turn the Trackspacer on. And you know, with this processing, it's a little bit more than I normally do. The bass was probably already mono. I think this was from a Moog or might have been a plugin. I don't remember. and then one by one. Just melts it all into the track. And so those are some great tactics for you to use on how to EQ and get your bass to sit right in the mix. And that's how you can get your bass to get fat and sit right in your mix. If you have any questions on this video, please shoot me a comment down below. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and the bell notification will keep you up to date. My name is Freddie from Distinct Mastering. Next week, the last video in this series, we're going to be talking about how to EQ your vocals. In the meantime, you can go back and check out the part on how to EQ your drum bus. I'll leave you a link here. Thank you very much.